Okay. Next, we will go into our operations timeline manual. This is a recommendation about how to go through with planning and enacting our summer camp. So we'll start very early in the first one, the project kickoff. We'll probably begin the planning of the summer camp in right after it ended, right? September, December, around that time, that's the time period when we want to start planning. And it is also the time when we want to receive feedback from our participating students and their parents. Because at that time, right when the summer camp is over, their memories of everything will still be very fresh. So at that time, first we want to get some feedback about how we did and what to change. And then we also at this time want to start planning for the next year. So building the core team, initial planning, like the schedule, right? What times we want it, how long do we want it? Do we want it 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks? When do we want it during the day, starting from maybe 9 o'clock to 5? Where we want to do it, venue, location, and capacity, because this all comes into play in our later enrollment, right? If we can't contain maybe, let's say 50 students, then of course we can't enroll 50 students. And we also need to find out our, target audience, target enrollment, basically find, once again, based off capacity and then also based off of what subjects we want to teach. And that will lead into our second phase, in which we are sort of setting up our teacher and having them define their curriculum. So that's the main goal, to define what to teach and who teaches. Because this is the thing that we need to sort of advertise to get out as our summer camp. We need to let everyone know what they're signing up for, who is teaching, what qualifications they have for teaching, are they a good teacher, and what are they teaching, right? So we'll have to first recruit teachers, right, based off of the criteria that we sort of went through before, like communication skills, responsibility, and availability. Of course, that's very important because we need to make sure that the teachers are all here. We can't have a teacher not show up for half of the week because, well, then there's no one else to teach it, and now we just have a bunch of students sitting there and probably just gonna play games all day. Um, and of course, each teacher that we recruit also need to submit their course topic. We would like for the teachers to decide what they want to teach themselves because it is what they are most comfortable with, but of course we also need to make sure that it's not something too niche, something too specific that might not appeal to all of our students. But yeah, mostly once we have the topic down, they'll have to design their curriculum, their target student age group, and their learning objectives, what they will sort of learn through our summer camp. And then, of course, we'll do initial course screening. Basically, through this, we'll find what is suitable for the target age group, evaluate our curriculum and our teachers, make sure that everything is not too complex or not too simple, right? We're not going to teach second grade maths to maybe a bunch of fourth graders. And we're also not going to teach very high-level coding to the same fourth graders. So in such, we will also look if it's engaging or appealing. Mentioned before, we did state that the students very appreciated engaging projects and things like that. We need to keep students happy, right? They're not going to like it if they're just here and just doing dry learning, as I would say. We want to keep everything engaging for the students so that they can have the best time possible. Yeah. So once again, that's to put it into simple terms. We don't want super fancy courses, for example, like a very niche topic, maybe like someone wants to teach specific water painting. First of all, I don't think we have the facilities for that because the ground is all carpet. We don't want that. And second of all, this sort of targets a very specific group of kids that like drawing, that like water paint, but we want to try to appeal to a broad amount of kids so that they can choose something that they still like. Yeah. Now we'll go into enrollment. Enrollment, this is one of our more important parts because this determines a lot of things about our summer camp. So first of all, we need to prepare materials. So the course descriptions as planned before, right? We need to make sure everyone knows what we're doing, how we're doing it, and when is it happening. And then we're going to launch outreach. Basically, we will prioritize returning students and existing customers or parents. And then secondly, we'll go into our community to find people that these people might know and people that we might know to bring them in. And lastly, we'll go and advertise it on social media, etc. So essentially, we want to grow the summer camp not just as a summer camp, but also as a community as a whole, so we can become more linked together. And yeah, next we will have to control the pace in which we enroll. Because in our first year, I'm pretty sure, we initially only enrolled 3 to 5 students. And then after the first few days, a lot of people came and wanted to come in. However, we did not plan for that, so we were not able to accommodate all of that. So for this, we want to try to control the pace of enrollment. We don't want to have the spots all fill out at the very first first week or so. I doubt that will happen, but we want to control it a bit. So we'll release the sort of seats or positions in batches, maybe 10, 15 at a time, maybe 1 week at a time. This is mostly because we don't know the demand for our program before launch. And this relates to our curriculum. Like mentioned before, we will have to adjust our curriculum based on how many students. A certain teacher can only take so many students, right? Because we also want our teachers to be attentive to their students and be able to answer questions. So if we were to have 50 students and maybe 4 teachers, I don't think that would not be super well managed, and we would have to change many things. So this way, even if there is a lot of people, we will have time to adjust based off of our enrollment. So basically, we'll be able to know a lot of metrics, right? If a lot of people enroll into a very popular course, we will add more sessions of that course and maybe more teachers and TAs to manage the big demand of students. And if we have maybe different student levels, like different grades, a very wide variety of ages, we'll adjust content and maybe split them in half, right? The older kids go into a slightly more advanced one, and the younger kids go into slightly less advanced one. And of course, if demand grows, if more students want in, we'll have to recruit more teachers and TAs. Yeah. So nextly is the refinement of the curriculum and the structure. So this is the months leading up to summer. So we'll need to basically set everything in stone by here. We need to make sure that each course is planned out. We need to know what we're doing, right? Daily lessons and time management. Because some people might think that, I can make this last 2 hours or 3 hours. But in reality, maybe they end up going too fast and it only goes for 1 hour. And what happens then, right? You're left there standing at the top and all the students are just sitting there expectantly waiting. Maybe some aren't even waiting, maybe some are playing games. But basically, we need to control time, right? Make sure that that's set. That was something we had to do for daily lessons. Secondly, also make sure that everything is appropriate for the students. We don't want to make them feel, because some students, when they see something that they can't do, right, they're going to feel very stressed out, very anxious, very nervous. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that everything is appropriate in difficulty level for them. And lastly, we need to set interactive components, once again, to keep students engaged. And then that's for the students, right? That's for the curriculum. Secondly, we need to sort of make sure our teachers are trained. So we did this last year as well, teacher trainings. Basically, we have all the teachers come together and we have them sort of give basically a 10 to 15 minute sort of mock teaching where they basically come into this room, right, put their example slides on there, and we all sit down and we pretend to be students, and they'll sort of show us what they got, show us what they can do. And then we'll each give them feedback, right? We'll give them feedback, and they'll be able to know what maybe to change, what maybe to keep, what to improve on, what to support. And we'll also have a better idea of what they look like when they're teaching. And so basically in this part, we want to see that they can explain things very clearly. They have good time management and pacing, and they can engage the students. So, and lastly, I think I mentioned this a tiny bit before, class groupings. If we end up with many students who are very wide variety in ages, maybe like a 6th grader and a 2nd grader, right? They both want to go in the same class. That might be a bit hard to manage. If the class is something that they both have no exposure to, it could be a bit better, but we would usually do not want that to happen because teachers need to sort of have a uniform teaching style that I feel like that's more comfortable for them. So if we need to, we'll do class grouping by age or by ability, and we'll adjust the curriculum difficulty accordingly. Okay, and this is about like 1 month before. We'll prepare for operations. Basically, we'll reconfirm the venue, make sure that we're still staying where we are, make sure we know everything, all of our assets, right? Classrooms, time slots, capacity, and finalize the schedules, right? What teachers go where, during what time, when they need to be here, when they need to leave, or where they need to be during this time. And of course, setting communication channels. We need to make sure that parents can reach us, teachers can communicate, and basically make sure that no information, no feedback is lost along the way. So at this time, we need to make sure everything is consistent. We have everything planned out because right after we will start the camp. So the camp execution from day 1 to the end. The daily routine, which is pre-mandatory, we need to have a quick review for 10 to 15 minutes after, basically what went well, what issues arose. We hope nothing actually bad happens, but if anything bad does happen, we need to quickly sort of go over with that and decide what to go forward with, what to sort of respond with, and how we can prevent anything like that to happen again. Collect feedback from students and teachers. We need to make sure that the students can follow, right? We can always make mistakes. Everyone can always make mistakes. If we make a mistake in, for example, difficulty, a teacher teaches something too difficult for their classes, if all of the students say that, oh yeah, we think this is too difficult, we can't follow, we will have to do some very quick adjustments to the difficulty because we're not going to just keep going through, right? That might sound like something that you could do, but the results of that don't seem so great. And adjustments, right? If a teacher is maybe going too fast, maybe the students are like, oh, I couldn't get anything of that. He went too fast, we couldn't learn anything. Of course, we'll adjust, right? Adjust pacing, maybe change the content and regroup students if needed. So basically, this part is just very early on in each week, we'll have basically checking in to make sure everything is going all right and possible adjustments if needed. And lastly, after the camp, right, we'll collect feedback. Like I mentioned at the very start, right? We'll collect feedback from teachers and students and parents. For teachers, we'll see what they think that they did very well or that they think that might have been better, or maybe what topics that they believe that students were interested in, or maybe like this overall structure. Were they comfortable with teaching this long at a time, or maybe they wanted more time to teach? For students, possibly like maybe if a teacher needs to teach more, maybe they didn't have time to ask questions, maybe they wanted more free study time. And of course, parents, how did their students react? Did they learn anything more? Or yeah, basically this part we need feedback right when the camp ends, when their memories are still fresh. And basically at this part, we'll learn more to continue on. Synthesized learnings, this is like something else that we also get from the students and teachers, basically seeing what went well, what should we not do next year, and what should we do next year. Very simple, very straightforward, but we'll just need to collect that right away. And lastly, of course, we'll document it, basically all of the feedback, we'll put them into a report, and we'll all go over it, and we'll use that to plan for next year. Okay, that is for the timeline manual, and that seems like a pretty consistent thing. It'll be a cycle, right? We'll go feedback all the way back to the start.